Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze. He's Jared Smith. Jared, we are one sleep away from the Super Bowl, unless you take a cat nap in the middle of the day
I'm
today.
gonna need one.
Yeah,
It's
you might
early
need
out
one
here.
on the West Coast. But one day away. How are we feeling? Things, I mean, they're pretty stable right now. Rams still 4-point favorites. That total still sitting around 48.5. Just what are the vibes out in LA? What are you feeling as you talk to the people out there? How are they feeling about the game?
It's funny. So I'm at one of the hotels that's kind of like a Super Bowl sanctioned hotel. We bought, Pickswise had this travel package that sent us out here. So everyone, or at least everyone in the NFL mode that's staying out here, pretty much all Bengals. Obviously, a lot of out of towners coming in. I see a lot of Bengals uniforms around the hotel at breakfast. Burrow and Jamar Chase and all the Bengals popular players are all getting jerseys rocked with some of the people around here. They're all excited. Most of the people are. I don't want to call it. I've talked to about five to 10 Bengals fans here in the hotel. A little nervous, a little more apprehensive, but very excited. And you're right. The total, I saw it tick up just a hair to 49 at the South Point this morning. And I'm seeing fours now painted across the board. And what's happened is we're starting to see a little bit of Rams money come in. And I think the sports books are like, all right, we've already gotten a ton of Bengals money, especially on the money line. Let's see if we drop the line down a little bit to 4. And I even saw Caesars had a moment of 3.5.
Wow.
Either it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And I think they just wanted to dip their toe in the Rams waters to see, because the public has been really heavy on the Bengals this week. Love affair with Joe Burrow and company. So now the sports books are trying to test that limit a little bit to see if there is any Rams money in the market. I would guess 4 is the closing number. That's where it opened, kind of. It went 3.5 and then it went right to 4 right away 2 Sundays ago. And then it went to 4.5 for a little bit. And I think 4 is the number. That was the number that we got from a lot of the books when it opened. And they think that's the right number. So I would guess 4 is probably going to be the closing line tomorrow.
What are the vibes out there? I mean, you're an East Coast guy. I've never been actually to the West Coast out to California, but I heard it's a little different. Is it different out there? What are the vibes?
It's hot. It's like 85 degrees. It's 85 degrees.
Well, I got a tea time today in the middle of February here in Maryland. So, global warming,
Yeah, it's
scary,
hot
but
everywhere.
take advantage of it.
Cali's now I grew up in South Florida, so I'm used to the laid back beach vibes. I'm used to a lot of the people in South Florida are not Dolphins fans. They're from New York, they're from Boston, they're from Philly. I get that sense down here. I've seen a lot of Raiders jerseys walking around Venice Beach yesterday. Sure. Saw a few Bengals shirts walking around the beach. Didn't see a whole lot of Rams jerseys. And we did a fun little gag. The Rams, LA fans don't really care about the Rams too much. I think that holds true. I get the vibe that this town knows what it's like to host a major event. It's LA. They're used to Hollywood, Academy Awards, Grammys, all that stuff. So it's not an overwhelming, flood of people and everything's going crazy. Everything seems pretty status quo. And I think tomorrow when we get to the game, when we arrive at the stadium, that's when the football vibes will sink in a little bit. But this town's used to having major events, no doubt.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Pickswise is giving away $1,000 to one lucky person with their Super Bowl props builder contest. All you have to do is pick 6 props for the big game, including national anthem, runtime, first team to score, etc. And if you guess those 6 props correctly, you'll be entered in to win the cash prize. Use the link in the description to sign up and win that money. And of course, subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. We do this show every day at 10 a.m. Don't want to miss out on any of the content we're doing here. And download the Pickswise app, available in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to talk more Super Bowl. We're going to have our friend Tim Murray from VSiN on to talk college basketball and Super Bowl. We're also going to do some ice picks, and then we're going to finish things off with our play of the day. So without further ado, Jared, let's bet it. And let's start on the ice before we bring in Tim here. Tough night last night for your Islanders. I'll start with my pick for the night because I'm going to fade your Islanders. I just think
it's a good night to fade them.
Yeah, I'm going with the Flames tonight. This is a bad spot for your Islanders. I'm going with Calgary on the 3-way money line here. This is the last game of the Islanders' West Canada trip, so they're just ready to get back home and get back to the East Coast here. The Islanders 1-6 in their last 7 back-to-back situations as well. So this really is just a bad spot for them. So I'm riding with the Flames, a team that's won 5 straight, and I believe 8 of their last 10. The money line a little too juicy for me, so I'm looking at that 3-way money line to make it a little more reasonable.
Yeah, they lost to the Flames earlier this season back in November. Obviously, teams are very different then. That was a 5-2 game. It was one of those games where, the Isles still were figuring things out. They haven't beaten the Flames since 2018. 3 straight losses. And they haven't scored more than 2 goals in any of those last 3 losses that they've gotten beaten by Calgary. So this is not a team that they usually play well against. And I have a buddy, my most trusted hockey source is like the most diehard Isles fan ever. And even he texts, like he never admits, hey, we're going to lose. Like he's always gung-ho about his team, but he's a realist though. And he said, this is a bad spot for them tonight. So this is a night to fade the Isles.
These are 2 defensive teams also, with that total being 5.5. Do you see any value anywhere in the total?
Yeah, who started in net for the Isles last night? I think it was Sorokin. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. So I would say of the 2 goalies that the Isles have, it was Sorokin. So it'll be Varlamov tonight. I think Sorokin's probably the higher upside, but lower floor. I think Varlamov's a little bit more steady. Sorokin might be the best goalie, future of the team. But I think Varlamov tonight in net might be a little steadier. So, yeah, I could see him keeping things close. It was an under last night, 3-1. And even with Sorokin in net, the Oilers, that was a tactical
plus
error
money
on
on
my
the
part,
over. Plus money on the over.
I don't like betting overs with the Isles. They're not an over team. They're really not. Although, second of a back-to-back, if the legs are tired and the defense is not as stiff as it is usually, and if
that Calgary can score. They can score.
Calgary, I was looking at the numbers last night because I'm on the over in the Wild game, and I was looking at the high danger scoring chances and the expected goals percentage, and Calgary is right at the top of the list. They are a very good analytically, sound team scoring. So yeah, I would say if you are going to bet the total there, I don't like going over in Isles games, but Flames are an over team, so maybe I think the total's a stay away, and I think the Flames probably get the win tonight.
Okay, you hinted you're on the Wild tonight in one way. What else? What are you on tonight on the ice?
Yeah, so this is probably, I think this is the game of the night in hockey. The Canes at Wild. Hurricanes are a Stanley Cup contender. I actually have a slice of them in my portfolio to win the Cup. But I think the Wild at home are really good, and they're coming off a game where they were just lifeless. So this is a bounce-back spot for the Wild. They lost 2-0 to the Jets earlier this week. We were on that game. We were on Minnesota, and it did not end well for us. Meanwhile, the Canes, it's a buy low, sell high kind of spot. Canes are coming off a 6-0 win over the Bruins. And again, both teams are high-scoring teams, top 10 in goals scored and expected goal percentage this year. Carolina has the second most high-danger scoring chances in the league. Also, the 4th most high-danger scoring chances allowed. They get a lot of chances. They give up a lot of chances. I think the Wild at home bounce back. And even if they don't, I'm kind of adding a layer of protection here in this game. Because I think if Carolina does win this game, it's going to be a 4-3, 5-4 kind of game. So we're going to go Wild and over. The Wild are -110. The over's at 6 at -120. I don't like going 1-1 and losing 10 or 20 cents on the juice, but I think at worst, just like last night with the college hoops picks in the Horizon League, at worst we go 1-1 with the favorites. At worst in this game, I think we go 1-1, Wild and over. If it's Canes, it also correlates to the over. So that's our only pick in hockey tonight. I'm trying to target one game. I think the Wild win this game 5-3, 4-3. But I think Carolina's live too, so we'll protect ourselves a little bit with the over.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to college basketball. Before we bring in our friend Tim Murray, I want to do a quick dive in the dumpster before we talk about the big boys tonight. So you got any dumpster plays that you're looking at?
Oh, yeah. I've got 3 dumpster plays that I'll give out now, and then I'll save one for play of the day. Because you know me. The major games don't really interest me too much. Let's start with the undercard. Let's start with Georgia State. Line flip overnight. They are at Appalachian State. Georgia State was the underdog by a penny. Now they're favored by a penny. And I think this Panthers team, we've talked about this Georgia State team before. They are a very good basketball team at their core. 3 returning seniors in the starting lineup. Rob Lanier is a great coach, but they got off to a brutal start. A lot of unlucky, bad shots, some tough results where their shot quality was high, but their win-loss record was very poor. And they're also starting to play better against those teams that they lost to earlier in the year. They have 2 straight wins against teams that they lost to earlier in the season, South Dow and Coastal. So they're starting to get that revenge element to them. App State tonight, they lost to App State by 1 point earlier this season. It was a game that they probably could have won. They shot 6 of 25 from 3, which is really bad. If they shot 7 of 25, they win. And this is like a double revenge game, Alex, because App State not only beat them earlier this year, but they beat them in the Sun Belt title game last March that sent them home and didn't go to the tournament. So this is like the double revenge spot for Georgia State. So we're going to lay 1 with Georgia State. I like Furman at home laying 4.5. Buy low spot on Furman after 2 straight losses. And the Paladins, they play really well at home. Both those losses were on the road. They haven't lost a home game since basically Thanksgiving. 9 straight wins in Greenville. They're a really good offensive team. Top 30 offensive efficiency, top 20 in EFG percentage, top 15 in three-point percentage. They rely heavily on the 3. In their last 3 games, though, they've been shooting it really poor, 29% from 3. I think we're going to see some positive regression from Furman. Meanwhile, Chattanooga, they're a really good team. Take nothing away from Chattanooga tonight. 21-5, 11-2 on the year, but 4 out of those 5 losses are on the road. So they're a little bit more vulnerable on the road, and they're going to be playing without their big man, Silvio D'Souza, which is very important because the Paladins are one of the most undersized teams in the league. So we're going to lay 4.5 with Furman. Finally, Morehead State, our dog of the day, catching 2.5 at home against Murray State. This is a classic sell high spot on Murray State. 11 straight wins. They're ranked for the first time all season. And usually when mid-majors are ranked, the first game, second game after they get ranked, they smell that ranking a little bit. They're at the top of their market value and they lose. It's happened 3 times already this year. Davidson, St. Mary's, and Loyola Chicago. The first week that they got ranked, they lost the game. It's also a revenge spot for Morehead State. They lost at Murray earlier this year, and they had 15 turnovers in that game. Game was tied with 10 minutes left. Murray State ended up winning by 10, and Morehead undefeated at home this season. Good 3-point shooting team. They'll shoot better at home. They'll limit their turnovers at home. Morehead State plus 2.5. So we got Morehead, Furman, Georgia State. 3 dumpster dive games. We'll save 1 for play of the day.
What are you looking for when you're watching these mid-major games? Because I was watching UAB Southern Miss the other night. I don't know why I was watching it. I think I was waiting for another game to come on. It just popped on my screen. But what are you watching, or what catches your eye about mid-major teams? Because UAB is one of those teams that, they're probably the best team in the Conference USA, right? Like they should be a tournament team.
Yeah, let's take a look at UAB.
What passes what constitutes as passing the eye test for you when you're watching them play in conference? Because obviously they're going to take it up a notch when you go into the tournament.
When I'm watching the games, I look for how well you get into your offense. Can you sustain half-court offense? Do you turn it over? Are you a good shooting team? Are you rattled with leads? Like, for instance, the best teams in college basketball in the mid-major side are teams with low turnover percentage, high EFG percentage, and high basketball IQ. For example, do you shoot your free throws well down the stretch? If you have a 2-possession lead in the final minute, can you break a press? Do you get rattled when you have a lead? Because a lot of times the mid-major teams don't have that high-level talent. And so the natural fundamentals come a little bit harder for those teams because they're not 6'8", long, athletic. They need to work a little bit harder to keep control of the basketball and get into their half-court sets. And to me, those are the things I look for with mid-major teams. Do you shoot it well from 3? Are you a low turnover team? Can you make your free throws? And do you have high basketball IQ? Those are the teams that tend to win in March.
We talk about offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency. Is there something in the analytics that also, in the numbers, that tells you that this team could be successful in March?
Non-steal turnover percentage. That's a huge one. NEFG, effective field goal percentage. Effective field goal percentage is like this magic bean elixir that, it combines how well you shoot from 3, and then it takes into account your 2-point shots, and it marries those 2 numbers together. and it basically tells you how good of an overall shooting team you are. Can you put the ball in the basket regardless of where the shots are coming from, inside or outside the arc? EFG percentage and non-steal turnover percentage are the two, I don't want to call them analytical numbers. They're just two metrics that, in my opinion, show how high IQ and fundamentally sound you are. And to me, those are two numbers. And also defensive efficiency. Can you stop the other team from putting it in the basket per 100 possessions? Tempo in March, tempo in the regular season matters because you've got tired legs and teams are in the grind. And all of a sudden you face a team like UAB that's top 100 in adjusted tempo, and they're just going to run you out of the gym. In March, tempo doesn't matter as much to me because it's a naturally slower pace in the March Madness games, conference tournament one and done games. But non-steal turnover percentage, EFG percentage are huge, absolutely huge for me.
Without giving away too much for free too early, got to ask you before we move on here: is there a team, or are there a couple of teams that are catching your eye as we look toward March mid-majors?
Let's take a look. So to me, teams that win in March, if you're not in the top 50 of adjusted defense when we get to the tournament, I don't even consider you to be a Final Four contender. And obviously that includes the high major teams. Usually the high major teams are the ones that make the Final Four. Very rarely.
Also, mid-major, like to
make the Final Four.
Maybe, get an upset, not necessarily.
Well, I'll tell you right now, VCU is San Diego State and VCU are the only two, San Diego State, Boise State, and VCU, three teams, are the only three mid-major teams. If you want to count Gonzaga, fair enough. In my eyes, Gonzaga's not a mid-major team. Boise State, San Diego State, two Mountain West teams. I'll tell you what.
You love the Mountain West.
I have been on the Mountain West bandwagon for the last month or so after watching Fresno and Boise and Colorado State do their business. Fresno's got a couple dudes inside that are absolute monsters. The Robinson kid is a beast. Fresno's in the top 30, but San Diego State, Boise State, I'm not counting Gonzaga. Gonzaga's not a mid-major team. San Diego State, Boise State, VCU are the only three mid-major teams in the top 10 of adjusted defense. Those are three teams that on any given night can shut your offense down. And if you're going to shoot it 25, 30, 35% from the floor, you're not going to win. And when you face a VCU or a San Diego State, they get into you defensively, and they can make your offense completely move. Those are the teams that are very dangerous in March.
All right. Well, let's bring in our friend Tim Murray, and let's talk about today's games. We got three ranked games as we get ready.
Murray,
sipping that morning coffee. I'm sorry for
it's early out here in West Coast.
Yeah, listen. Over West, it's early. It's 10:20 over here on the East Coast. So I'm I've been up for a couple hours here.
What's up, fellas? It's good to be on.
Absolutely. Listen, Tim, we're gonna talk some college basketball before we move into the Super Bowl. We got three ranked games, three really good games here. Let's start with Texas at Baylor. Baylor laying 6 points here. Can I convince either of you to take the 6 points with Texas in what is, I believe, a pretty high number considering the total so low?
Yeah, Texas has been a team that's kind of frustrated me, guys, this year. I was very high on Texas preseason, and they showed it earlier this week, right at home, in a great spot against Kansas. So they've had about a week off to prepare for Baylor. So you look at Ken Pom. This is about a 6-point game. I'm a big, as Jared knows, Alex, big situational guy. Where are we at to come into this game? And, to me, this being at Baylor, Baylor was able to avenge their loss to Kansas earlier this week against Kansas State. I'll be honest, this isn't a game that really jumped out to me one way or the other. As I mentioned, this was a 6-point spread, obviously, and Ken Pom had it that way. And I'm sure you guys bring this up all the time. We could talk about it, but Ken Pom is a great resource, but he's not the Bible. He's someone to use as something to go to and look at his adjusted offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency. You could ask the guy himself. I'm sure he'd say the same thing. He wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm I'm where you have to go to look at lines.
Or he'd be like,
But
yes, I am the Bible, actually.
yeah, or maybe he does believe himself of that highly. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is a spot I probably would lean a little bit towards Baylor just because they've had a couple big profile games that they've dropped in recent memory. Last Saturday they lose to Kansas. 2 Saturdays ago they lose to Alabama. So it kind of feels like Kansas or Baylor's in that spot where they almost need to have a big win. I mean, look at their last 4 games, right? Lost to Alabama, beat West Virginia at home. That was the game that Taz Sherman got hurt. Then they get crushed by Kansas, and they beat Kansas State earlier this week. So if I had to play this game, I'd probably look a little bit towards Baylor just because it feels like Baylor kind of needs this game to beef itself up a little bit.
Yeah, and Baylor's got an interesting little run. I mean, they're going to be the defending champs when we get into the March tournament. So it is fascinating to see how they carry themselves down the stretch of the season. They've lost 2 out of their last 4 home games too. Beat West Virginia, slim, blew out Kansas State. Kansas State's not very good. And their last 2 home games, lost Oklahoma State, lost Texas Tech back to back. And say what you want about Oklahoma State, Texas Tech's a really good team. So when good teams come in to play them, they've had some issues at home of late. So I'm fascinated to see how they handle themselves tonight. I'll be honest, Tim. When I watch Gonzaga, I get NBA vibes from this team. I mean, they just get up and down the floor. Chet Holmgren is a freak. Tonight they're facing St. Mary's, and when you look at that game, it's tough to lay that many points in a game, a conference game with a St. Mary's team that is really good. They're coming off that tough loss to Santa Clara. But man, oh man, it is really tough to get in front of the Gonzaga train right now. I don't care how many points they're laying. They are at a different level than everybody else.
Yeah, and you look back to last Saturday, Jared, and that was a game where sorry, I know you liked BYU, but this is kind of what they do, which is
dismantle.
They play these teams that are in the West Coast Conference that are good, right? And they just destroy them. They played San Francisco. I think San Francisco covered that game. Yeah, San Francisco did cover that game. Actually played pretty well against
barely.
them.
But it was but they did cover.
Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at a crooked number. It's funny. I was looking at a prop in town, and it might be a fun discussion point for you for the 3 of us, but it was Gonzaga points versus Jamar Chase receiving yards. Gonzaga points against St. Mary's.
The cross-sport props are fun, Tim.
So there were a couple of college basketball that made me laugh. There was another one I'm trying to remember. I think it was Gonzaga wins in the NCAA tournament against. I think it was it has been removed off the board. I didn't see it yesterday, but I think it was like T. Higgins receptions, something like that. But
those sharp guys out in the desert get to those numbers quick. They pull those down real fast.
I don't know. You put that up, and my brain started running a mile a minute. I'm like, I don't know what's happening here.
Started looking like that meme, like connecting the dots. I
was like, I need more coffee. It's way too early to be doing.
Ken Palm's got this Gonzaga game at 24. That feels a little heavy for me.
That does.
My math is off. My math is off. 80 to 66. That's 14. Man, my math is off. I got to take another sip of coffee.
When you go out west, you start. You learn like me, man. You got to wake up early. Got to get the gears going early. I feel like I'm the worst guest ever to come on the show today because this is a spot where I just don't love laying 16. If I did, I probably would have to take the points with St. Mary's, just because they're coming off the loss, right? I'm a big Randy Bennett believer. This team is, top 20 in defensive efficiency. My always worry, though, when you play a team like Gonzaga and you're St. Mary's, it's like, all right, how are you guys going to keep up with them? And let's think back to the Santa Clara game. I was watching that game. I actually had Santa Clara. I didn't think they'd win it outright like they did, but they were kind of getting up and down. I mean, if St. Mary's tries to run and tries to do a similar pace, I mean, look at the points that St. Mary's has put up, guys, in the last handful of games, right? Santa Clara game was 77-72. They had 86-57 against San Diego. So are they going to try to slow this thing down to muck it up like they've done in the past against most teams? I mean, you're looking at a total in this game. where was it? I had just had it
I
up
saw
on.
like 148.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like it's an over situation, just the way that the Gales have been playing lately, right? So, I mean, that might be a way to look at this game. 147.5. So it has come down, right? I mean, the smart money's on the other side, but
Yeah.
77-72, that's 149. That was the Santa Clara game. Is St. Mary's going to try to, keep this game rolling that regard? So that might be something to keep an eye on when it comes to Gonzaga and St. Mary's tonight.
One
Love
more
it.
before we move on to the Super Bowl here. We got UCLA at USC. Two weird teams.
Yeah,
UCLA,
very much so.
USC, a little fraudulent. Are they
Yes.
frauds? They feel fraudulent to me. So as much as I want to take the 2 points at home, I think I just can't get there. I can't get there, but I also don't trust UCLA either. It's a weird spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Alex, I think you're right. And I've been saying it on my show. I think USC is a bit fraudulent, and where they end up landing, they could have a poor matchup, come the first round of the NCAA tournament. That could be one of those bigger seeds that people look to fade. I mean, look at USC, and the advanced numbers really didn't buy into them. I mean, they were 13-0. I think they were top 5 in the country in the rankings, but they certainly weren't respected all that much. I won't say they were completely disrespected, but they were a team that was pretty low, kind of mid-teens, even though they were 13-0 in kind of the analytical numbers before losing to Stanford. So they've had some confusing losses, right? They've got swept by Stanford. The Pacific game, I should have been smarter and taken Pacific in that one. I mean, guys, Pacific, I think, entered that game like 4-17 ATS, the worst cover team in the country.
Yeah.
But you had to know, like, there's no way USC in a rescheduled game against a West Coast Conference team was going to be up for that. I mean, that was the ultimate sleepwalk. Let's just get out of here with a win. I mean, they were losing that game. So it kind of makes me think, okay, now they're going to be up for this one. Obviously, they're going to be up for it. It's their crosstown rival in UCLA. Sure. So I kind of like USC here. I'm with you, Alex. I think big picture, this is a fraudulent team, in my opinion, in USC. But I think we're catching points at home. I think this is a good situational spot. Rivalry game. Word on the street, Jared's going to be there with his face painted out in LA. So, that's huge.
Body
got the red, the Trojan.
He's going to be,
the Trojan
he's
red,
going to be doing fight on, and he's going to have the big sword, and him and Lincoln Riley are going to be hanging out there. He's going to be trying to recruit kids from
Caleb
LA.
Williams is coming. I got Caleb Williams on the line. He's gonna
him and Caleb Williams are gonna be talking about route trees. I mean, with that in the back pocket, you gotta go.
Gotta go Trojans. It was a sandwich game. You're right. I'm looking at the schedule now. Coming off the Arizona game for USC, Pacific in the middle. There's your meat of the sandwich, and then here UCLA on the back end. And they lost that game to Arizona, and then they sleptwalked through Pacific. This is the game that they will be up for. And again, listen, this is a team that was, made that great tournament run last year. Obviously, the talent not quite there. And UCLA is an interesting bunch. Maybe they're another one of those teams that top 20 offensive, defensive efficiency we're going to be talking about a lot deep into March this year. But this will be a fascinating one. Anything else on your college card tonight, Tim? I gave out a few of the dumpster guys. We talked a little bit about Furman. Morehead State, dog of the day at home. And I think Georgia State's also a good look. Anything else situationally that catches your eye tonight on the college hoops card?
One game, well, there's two games that one normally on most normal people's radars, and the second one I'm trying to figure out if I really want to do this to myself. And I'll start with that one because that's always fun.
That's the best one.
So Illinois, Chicago, if anyone has checked this out, they got completely hosed by their conference. It's they're a team that's leaving the Horizon League. They're going to I believe they're going to the Missouri Valley, and the Horizon League, like a couple of these conferences, are just a bunch of dopes that don't understand anything, and they're banning UIC, the Flames, from postseason play. Why do I bring this up? Because they in turn beat Cleveland State, the top team in the conference, earlier this week. It was the best thing that I saw today on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah.
Now they got to go on the road to take on the Mastodons of IPFW. to me, it kind of feels like, guys, we're going to give everything we got. We got, overed. And now here comes the letdown, right? We beat the best team in the conference. We hit a buzzer beater to do so. And now we got to go on the road to IPFW. It's a 5-point game at Ken Palm. It's a 5-point spread. I think this is kind of your classic letdown spot of we're going to, rally together. It's kind of like when a team loses a really important player to injury, right? You rally that first game, and then after that, how do you respond? You just beat the best team in the conference. You kind of gave the middle finger to the entire league saying, yeah, can't ban us. Now, do they respond on the road? Sure, it's going to be a pretty sleepy environment there. I would look a little bit towards IPFW, lay in the 5 against UIC. We saw, I'm trying to remember which team it was. It was Stony Brook. They got banned from their
America
conference
East.
play, and immediately they lost as like a 8-9 point favorite. UIC did the opposite, right? They beat the best team in the conference. Now I kind of feel like this is a bit of a letdown spot. So big letdown spot in my opinion here because everyone's human. Now you're going on the road. The other one, I'm trying to figure them out, but ultimate letdown spot for Arkansas, right? I mean, Arkansas beat the
after
number 1
Auburn.
team in the country, and now you're going on the road, taking on an Alabama team that pretty much every game that Alabama plays, guys, is kind of a desperate spot. I'm surprised that there are some spots that this market is moving against Alabama. I thought this would be, and it's a pretty big number. Alabama's laying 5, and they're a very Jekyll and Hyde team. I'm a big Eric Musselman fan, but man, it's hard to respond, right? As a kid, as a young man, you just beat Auburn in your home. You storm the court. You're wearing the Nolan Richardson 1994 Arkansas uniforms. You guys are on the midst of a 9-game winning streak. And now you go on the road to Alabama and be on your best game. Alabama, beat Mississippi earlier this week, but prior to that, guys, they beat Baylor, then they got smoked by Auburn. They're in the midst of a brutal run, and they're thinking about seeding. This is a team that's one of the best offensive teams in the country. So I think Alabama at home could get hot today. So a couple of favorites that I like, which is kind of
scary.
But I like Alabama laying the 5 against Arkansas, and I like IPFW laying the 5 against UIC.
Bama also lost to Georgia and Kentucky in that stretch too. So Bama's had it rough.
Alabama, and by the way, guys, I'm sure you guys have talked about it. I mean, Alabama is the most confusing team in the country because look at their best wins, right? It's Houston,
Gonzaga,
it's Gonzaga, it's Baylor. That's 3 teams top 5.
Florida, Tennessee, those are all tournament teams.
What is this team? But you lose to Georgia, you lose to Missouri, you lose to Memphis, who's been kind of a disaster this year. You lose to Iona, who, look, I love Rick Pitino, but come on. I mean, you're Alabama. You can't be losing to Iona. So they are confusing, but I think this is a get-right spot for Alabama at home, taking on Arkansas.
All right, let's move on and talk some Super Bowl now. And make sure you check out Jared's column on the Pickswise website for his best bets. Yeah, make sure you check that out. But Tim, I want to talk to you about some props that I have going on here. The first one, which is actually it's going up, so it's my favorite. I'm glad I got it earlier in the week. Sony Michel rushing yards was 16.5, now 19.5 on DraftKings at least. Sony, interesting spot because obviously not the starter, but 10 or more touches in 2 of the Rams' 3 postseason games this year. And this is a Bengals defense, that the Rams should be able to run on, right? Gave up 4.5 yards per carry and 5.5 yards per carry in the postseason this year. So I think if Sony can get the touches that I think he's going to get, he's going to go way over 16.5. And I still would play it at 19.5.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think this is a really good spot. Cam Akers, that number's been kind of perplexing to me because at one spot in town, the Westgate Superbook, it opened 68.5. I was pretty surprised considering, I think, what his highest rushing total since he returned was around 55 yards. So I was surprised. I'm kind of in the camp that you are, Alex, which is, look, Sony Michel is a Super Bowl champ. He's been there before. Henderson coming back maybe takes a little bit of the shine off that. But my thought is that he's going to be involved in this game. You're always trying to look for that kind of, who's going to be that unsung hero that we weren't talking about. It always happens every single year. And I think Sony Michel, first touchdown props are worth a look. Anytime touchdown props are worth a look with Sony Michel. I think this is a spot for Sony Michel, a guy who's been there before, who's won a championship before. I think this is a spot where you could see Sean McVay going to him more than regularly. So I really like that. I know a lot of, sharp guys out in Vegas were all over that, playing Sony Michel overs. So yeah, if you got in early, I think that's a really good play. And I'm with you. I think 19.5, you're starting to get to the tip top of the market, but I think it is a spot where you still look at taking him to the over, because in my opinion, even though I'll be honest, guys, I didn't play any unders on Cam Akers because that number just kind of spooked me. And I believe the Rams will get to this. I think the Rams will ultimately win this game. So there could be some late running for Cam Akers to try to run out the clock here. So that's why I'm staying away from it. I haven't played over or under on Akers, but I think the Sony Michel is a really sharp play, and I would look that way as well.
I love that. I gave that out in the column this week, 18. I got 18.5. I think Michelle is a great number. And Tim, I think you make a good point with Sony, and this is one of the reasons I like Michelle, and I think this is one of the reasons why I like the Rams in the game. McVay's second time in this game. And say what you want about Joe Burrow, and I know he's Mr. Cool, but it's going to take more than just him to win this game for the Bengals. And your first Super Bowl, coaching, playing, it can be a little overwhelming. A lot of these Rams players, Donald, McVay, some of the offensive players as well, Cooper Kupp, they've been in this game before. They understand what it's like to be in a Super Bowl. To me, that's why I like the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, and I think, the other side of the coin would be, well, Zach Taylor was on the staff. It's true. He was on that staff.
That's true. Good point.
He went to the Bengals right after it. But he wasn't the head coach. Now it's a different ballgame, right? And Sean McVay even said so, Jared, after they, really Bill Belichick kind of ran circles around him, even though the score didn't indicate it. I mean, that was a game pretty much dominated by the Patriots. They had a perfect game plan. Rams couldn't do anything offensively. And yeah, I mean, to me, and the numbers were kind of bearing it out with the public backing the Bengals here, which is beautiful.
Public dog. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, this is a very popular dog. Different spots. I mean, we had Derek Stevens, owner of Circus Sports, on our show on Thursday night, and he's like, "Where's the Rams money? We're asking for Rams money. Is it gonna come?" And this is, as you guys have talked about, I'm sure this is the one spot of the year where the public money outweighs the sharp money. So yes, there was sharp money early. The sharp money actually moved the Rams number up a point, but now here comes the public money. And I think it's just going to keep on coming. I'll give you an example. And this is just a small example, but it kind of proves my point. I was at a sports book in town, grading out some NFL player futures. So that was always nice to cash some tickets. And I look over and here comes some gentleman. Sure, he's a nice fella. Takes out a couple $100 bills, fires them into the kiosk. What is he doing? Bengals money line. And that's what the whole weekend. It's going to be, wait, I can get Joe Burrow. I mean, because let's be honest, right? The way it normally works, I mean, this is the most bet game of the year. You can get Cincinnati at plus 170. I mean, you can turn your $40 into $70. This is the spot where you're going to want to take those plus points. So the books are going to need the Rams. Do the books always win? No. And is that the only reason I'm betting on the Rams? No. But I do think that is part of it. I mean, this is a very, very popular dog in the Cincinnati Bengals.
A frothy dog.
Do you have a favorite prop? I'm curious. Do you have a prop that you're liking more than any of the others that you're going to play?
Yeah, there's a couple favorites. Let's see. I'm pulling up my list right here. So, one that I do like quite a bit, and it isn't over, oddly enough. It's Joe Mixon receiving yards. Joe Mixon is a guy that they have really targeted in the passing game, the Bengals have. And I look back at the Tennessee game. The Tennessee game, I looked at as a comparable defensive line. I don't know, you know, to each its own, six, half dozen the other, who's better. But obviously Tennessee was able to get after Joe Burrow, right? They sacked him 9 times. And I think Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor learned from that. I don't anticipate 9 sacks from the Rams defense upcoming on Sunday. But I think quick pass game is going to be very, very important. And I think Joe Mixon's going to be involved. Joe Mixon, if you look in the pass game, if that number's sitting at 25.5, where I got it, I've seen other places 26.5. I actually saw it dip down on Friday night, which was surprising.
Yeah.
Didn't really like that. I was hoping it would just keep
I saw
going
a
up
sharp guy give out the under.
Yeah,
why.
so
I saw a sharp guy give out the under, so he tweeted it out, and that probably moved it a little.
yeah, so I mean, there's going to be opposition on every side,
Sure.
and usually overs are not the way that wiser bettors go, which I totally respect. But I just think this is a spot where Joe Mixon is incorporated quite a bit in the pass game. He's gone over 25.5 receiving yards in every postseason game. Granted, against the Raiders in the first round, it was 28 yards. Against the Chiefs, it was 27 yards. So it's not like he's been blowing this number out of the water. But in the Titans game, he went for 6 for 51. Late in the regular season, he had 2 big games against the Ravens and the Chiefs. So I like him to go over his receiving yards. I also like him to go under his rushing yards, because I just think this Bengals team is going to have a tough time running the ball. This is a top 5 run defense. Especially if you look at the numbers, guys, on first down. The Rams rarely get gashed on first down in the run. And I think that's a spot where you can look at Joe Mixon to go under. I think, I got 63. I think that's available, 62.5. It's coming down a little bit, but ultimately I think Joe Mixon does go under his rushing total. Other ones that I'll just fire out there, guys, and you give me your thoughts on them. I think I played Bengals first possession as a punt. I played under 9.5 in the first quarter. I think that's a look. And then I'm curious about CJ Uzama. Circa here in town did put up numbers on Uzama. Over under 2.5 receptions, 24.5 receiving yards. It wasn't my favorite play just because of the unpredictable nature of Uzama, but I have to play under because, the guy's come off a sprained MCL, guys. How effective is he going to be? Yeah, he can cut all the WWE promos he wants, ripping off a knee brace, but, how does your knee really feel? So it wasn't my, favorite prop bet just because he's really talented and very important to that offense. And you look at, how utilized he was during the Raiders and the Titans game to get 6 and then 7 receptions. But I think he's banged up. Obviously, he has a sprained MCL. So I think kind of blindly looking at the unders, depending on where you have Uzama props, just might be a look, because if he's out there, it's gradable. And I just don't know how effective he's going to be coming off that MCL injury.
I agree. It wouldn't be my favorite one.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's one he breaks one big one and he goes over. But I think the trend there would be under. The Mixon under, that was one of these. So I gave out 4 props in the best bets column this week. Check it out, Pickswise.com. The Mixon under is in there. The other ones that were in there, Van Jefferson long reception over 17.5. That was just a gut feel. Not a lot of numbers there. I just think the matchup with Eli Apple might be very favorable. And then Burrow's rushing yards prop, I really like to the over. Alex, I know you like Stafford's rushing yards prop to the over. And I think the rushing attempts for Stafford at 2.5, that could literally be 1 or 2 kneel downs at the end of the game, and that gets you there. And you get one other run earlier in the game.
Yeah, I love that one. And Alex, I hear you on the rushing yards. The worry I have is a Patrick Mahomes situation from a year ago. Is you get there and then you take some knees, and then you're.
That's why I think the attempt's a little safer. You can't
I think rushing attempts. I think rushing attempts is a really, really good play on Matthew Stafford because, like you said, if they get the ball back and they're kneeling this puppy down, you win.
That's it.
And I do think Matthew Stafford does run a little bit, not a ton.
One. All you need is one real rushing attempt, and then one kneel down at the end of the half to go into the halftime locker room, and then one kneel down at the end of the game, or 2 kneel downs at the end of the game to get you over there.
But
That
I
one,
I
and
like
we
Joe
would have had
Burrow.
that in the Bills game too, if it wasn't
Yeah,
for the fact that they
and
put Trubisky in at the end.
and I like the Joe Burrow over that you guys talk about
Yeah,
too, because I mean, look at what he was able to do against the Chiefs. He had 5 carries for
yeah,
25 yards, and my partner Sean King, I thought, brought up a good point, which is he feels like Joe Burrow watched that Bills Chiefs game and said, all right, I might have to do something like this myself. And, we'll see how Jalen Ramsey ultimately plays it and how the Rams play it. My gut tells me they're not going to shadow Jamar Chase. I think that would be a mistake.
they're gonna play zone just like they
You
normally
can't
do.
have Jalen Ramsey running all over the field. I think there are going to be times, but Cincinnati puts him in the slot. They move him around the field. I think that would be a mistake on Raheem Morris's part to have Jalen Ramsey shadow him. But I do think you're going to see Joe Burrow use his legs enough to get a couple first downs to keep those chains moving, especially if they are down 10 points, 7 points, and he can get 5-6 yards late in the game. I mean, Joe Burrow, his personality, man, he's not scared of anything. So I think rushing yards for Joe Burrow is certainly a good look. All
right. It's Tim Murray. Tim, before we get out of here, you said you're on the Rams. I know that. Laying the 4 points.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it, but I would say this: if you're a Rams fan or Rams backer, believer, this is very rarefied air. Wait, we'll see what we get. I did
Might
take
get
a little bit on
4. They get 3.5.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get there. There was, I think
Caesars dipped it a little bit the other day. They
that
were
was
trying
a promotion.
And to your point, they were trying to get that Rams money because there just isn't a whole lot in the market.
That was a promotion they did for 24 hours. I think they took some Rams money. They got it to 3.5. I'm looking a little bit towards that money line, see if we can get it suppressed down. But yes, Alex, to answer your question, I did take a little on 4. I do think the Rams have the capabilities. My prediction on the game was like 24-16, somewhere in that ballpark, lower scoring game. But I think the Rams, I think they match up well. You look at the defenses that the Cincinnati Bengals have played so far in the postseason. They're not to the level of the Rams. Titans are really good, and they struggled against the Titans. So, yes, I do think the Rams pull it out. I would lay the 4, but let's be patient, folks. Let's wait. Maybe you get a 3.5. I think it's very possible because, these books are looking for Rams money, and there might be a shop or two that says, all right, let's just get the 3.5 before kick and see if we can, get some people to come in. So I am on the Rams, but let's be patient. Let's wait and see what we ultimately can get.
Smart man.
Tim Murray, host of the Nightcap, 10 p.m. Eastern on VSiN. Thank you, Tim.
All right, fellas. Good talking to you.
Great stuff. TM.
All right, Jared, let's move on to our plays of the day. We got any 3-star plays on the website?
No, actually. Wait, hold on. Let me do one last refresh. I did a refresh this morning, and it didn't quite work out for me. Let's do a refresh here. I did see Will still had that prop up, opening kickoff, no touchback. Ross Tucker had a 3-star play. Oh, no, I lied. We got a bunch that just populated the site. Wow. Holy moly. I see 6 3-star plays today on the site. I am going to make you go to the site to look at them. I'm not going to tell you one of them. I will tell you that 3 of them are in college basketball. 1 of them is in the NHL. 2 of them are NBA totals. 6 3-star. It is a slammed Saturday on Pickswise.com. I'm glad I refreshed the page before I said that there were no 3 stars because there are many. Go check them out. PW.com, Pickswise.com. Do it.
All right, give the people your play. You teased it a little bit. What's your play of the day tonight?
Yeah, we're going to the A-10 Davidson at Rhode Island. We're laying 2 in the hook with the Wildcats. So they have the best offense in the Atlantic 10, top 10 EFG percentage, top 10 3-point percentage, top 10 offensive efficiency in the country, not just in the Atlantic 10, in the entire country. Also top 40 non-steal turnover percentage. And they are coming off their worst shooting game of the year. They went 2 for 25 from the arc against St. Joe's. Guess what? They still won the game in overtime. If they can still beat a team, now St. Joe's isn't very good. If they can still win a game in the conference in where they shoot 2 for 25 from 3, I am very confident that there is going to be some positive regression in that category today. Rhodey's bad. They've lost 6 in a row. The home loss to UMass last weekend is really bad. UMass is a really bad team. And The Rams are just an undisciplined team, 313th in non-steal turnover percentage, 317th overall out of 358 teams in turnover percentage overall. And they haven't scored over 67 points in 7 straight games. Davidson averages almost 72 per game. So if Davidson gets to their average at 72 and St. Joe's tops out there at 67, I feel good about Davidson laying 2.5 on the road at Rhode Island. We're trying to make it 2 straight LBI PODs out here in LA. We won last night with Northern Kentucky.
We swept
college hoops game.
We swept
We
last
did.
night.
Jared Allen.
Listen,
I like that one. When you gave that out last night,
that was never a doubt. That was never a doubt.
That was never in doubt.
Yeah. So we're listen. I'm going for 2 straight as well. So let's keep the train rolling here. I'm going out with the play that I gave earlier in the show. Flames 3-way money line. This is just a bad spot for the Islanders, who lost last night to the Oilers. 1-6 in their last 7 back-to-back situations. This is the final game of a West Canada trip for them, so they're just looking to get back home. And I'm just rolling with the Flames. They've won 5 straight. They're the better team. The money line a little too juicy for me, so I'm going with the 3-way money line to make it a little more reasonable.
Love it.
Fair enough.
Go Davidson. Go Calgary.
That's right. A little bit of a longer show today, and we're going to have a long show tomorrow, I'm sure, as we get ready for Super Bowl Sunday. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. right here. Make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel and follow us on social media so you don't miss out on any of the plays. And Jared is in LA, and I'm sure he's got some fun things planned for social as well as we get ready
Oh, yeah.
for the big games. We'll see you tomorrow.